Here we are in the fourth week of Lent. We're about halfway through our journey. And so here we are about halfway through, and it's kind of like we're at midterms. We look back today, and I got a few questions as part of your midterm exam today to see how things are going, how we're proceeding on this travel that we have, which is Lent today. The first question this morning, this first part of your midterm, is how are you doing so far? See, Lent is a time of preparation, and as you recall, 3 weeks ago, we were talking about giving things up. And something has to take its place, so taking something on. So how are we doing in our Lenten disciplines? Has this something that's been taken on been what we intended it to be? Or has it been something else? In our time of Lent as well, have we taken that time to be in the Scriptures, to be in prayer, to be in service, to be in fellowship? What have we done with this time? How is it going? How is your education right now? How is this time of preparation for each one of you? That is the first question of your midterm. It's a subjective question, so it's a little bit easier. So, we see here, Jesus had with him 12 disciples, 12 students that he was teaching. And partway along their journey, let's say for them it was their midterms. Jesus wanted to see how they were doing. And the teaching in this case was not like we normally see it today, where the professor gets up front, the rabbi, the teacher gets up front and asks the questions. In this case, it was them asking him the question. This was a case where they were walking along in a town they may have walked through many times. By a corner they may have walked by many times. By a man they may have walked by many times. And they asked him, Rabbi, this man here, who sinned? Him or his parents that he was born blind? See, it was generally understood that when bad things happened, that there was sin attached to it. When a child was being, as we would say today, a brat, we'd say that the sins of the parents are what caused that to occur. That their sin has caused a genetic predisposition towards this problem. And in this way as well, for the child, the Jews would have agreed with our modern psychologists who would say that everything that's wrong in my life is my parents' fault. But at the same time, they know that there are some things that are not the parents' fault. So the question here for Jesus was it something that this man did that made him blind, or was it something his parents did that made him blind? They were ready for a long discourse and discussion about which way it probably was, but Jesus threw them for a loop. He said, neither this man nor his parents sinned, but this happened so that the work of God might be displayed in his life. Neither this man nor his parents, but this happened so that the work of God might be displayed in his life. And here we have Jesus then. He spits on the ground, makes some mud with the saliva and put on the man's eyes. Go, wash in the pool of Siloam. So the man went and washed and came home seeing. Now the healing was a little different than many of the other healings that we see throughout the Gospels. Usually, it's somebody who comes up to Jesus who needs to be healed. Whether it's touching the hem of his garment, or whether it's a father appealing for his child's life. In this case, the man was just sitting there. He wasn't seeking to be healed. It was a teaching lesson. Jesus made mud and put it on his eyes. And he said, go. Now for us in this time of Lent, as as we're listening to God and hearing his voice, there's a key part in here. He put mud on the man's eyes and told him to go. He actually had to do something. He had to wash the mud out of his eyes. He had to go. And he had to go to a specific place, to the pool of Siloam. He couldn't have gone just to the closest bucket of water and washed it off. It had to be in a specific place. He had to go and do. He had a very little to do. A very little thing. And God asked that as well. When he speaks to us, he has to do something little. He does the big part. It wasn't the washing that made him see. It was Jesus who made him see. But he had to go. He had to go. He had to go do the little thing. And we have to go and do the little things. The second question of the midterm today is, give glory to God. How do you give glory to God? Give glory to God through your testimony. Give glory to God through your testimony. This man had a lot to contend with here. First off, we have in this passage that people weren't even sure that this was the man. We wonder how that could be possible, that a man that you pass by every day that you wouldn't recognize. But I know from working at Shepherd's Heart that there are guys who go to Shepherd's Heart that people walk by every single day. And if they join them at a restaurant, they wouldn't know who they were. They would have no clue. Because they just blend in. This blind man blended into the background until people didn't know who he was.